Welcome to the Wild Pitch Podcast.
All right, everybody, we're back again. Another episode of the Wild Pitch Podcast. We talk about it a lot on all of our episodes, how our experiences through pro ball have just, led us to a lot of great people in our life. And, I think as much as we meet great people, there's always that handful that really stand out. And one of those is here today, Justin Lambert. We ran into him, Brian Dorsey and I, with the Long Island Ducks. I think I was only there half a season. Brian, you were there the whole year, but this guy captivated an audience and the entire team. I mean, he has a video that one day we will show on this podcast. It used to be the one-legged kickstand. It involved Pete Rose, some Latin words that I don't know, a couple dances. It was probably – I think it's one of the highlights of my minor league career as far as laughing in a locker room. So Justin joins us today, and he happens to bring just an old friend of his named Sean Casey. Now, Sean, if you don't know him for the young guys, which the young guys, it's amazing, right? They don't know anybody anymore.
They don't.
They don't know anyone. You bring up like a Hall of Famer, they have no clue, and the guy just retired 10 years ago. But if you do research Sean Casey in New York, you get the Sean Casey Animal Rescue. So this is this isn't Tiger King or anything. This is Sean Casey, the 300 hitter in the big leagues. And during our time, he was, a top 5 guy, probably batting average. Maybe I'm selling you short. 3-time All-Star, Cincinnati Red Hall of Famer, and a lot of you guys know him now from MLB Network. And listen, being a dead horse, but they say he's the nicest guy that ever played. But I will say that, Sean, if I hit 300 all the time, I would have been. I think
Sean is probably too nice to he's letting you get away with the fact that he's actually a 302 career hitter.
Exactly. Yeah, you know what? You're right, Ro. You can't 302. That matters. When I went to Boston my last year, I was at 301. I was like, please, Lord, do not let me hit 240 and then be a 299 career hitter. Oh, so yeah. The 302 matters, okay? Because it went up.
Yeah, that's no joke. Both you guys, first of all, you guys should be having your own podcast. I know we talked to Justin about it. Everyone's going to realize that you guys really should have your own because you guys are going to be really funny and great guys. So, Justin, why don't you discuss how you guys came together? Because you only played 1 year
right.
together, and you guys are lifelong friends now.
Well, yeah, you know what? Sean and I met at the University of Richmond. That's where we went to school. We played baseball together there. And the funny thing is, going on my recruiting visit, Sean actually came back, I guess, to be with his girlfriend or somebody back here in Pittsburgh. So I missed him on the actual recruiting visit. And I heard about him, but I didn't really know what to expect at all. A couple of his friends, a buddy of ours that actually lives here in Pittsburgh, Jay Adams, was an outfielder. And I hung out with those guys, and they were just some of the best guys that I'd hung out with. And I just got a great feel about Richmond. And so obviously when I go there, we're working out as a team together and we're on the track. And at the end of the, track session, Sean walks up to me and just introduces himself, and just with that smile and that infectious personality. And, a lot of the qualities that I thought I had, I saw right away in him. I'm like, man, this guy is just, there's something about him. You know what I mean? And I just gravitated towards him right away. And he was a junior in school with Jay, and they were in a fraternity as well. So right away, they took me under their wing, and the rest is history. We just developed a real strong bond, and not for nothing, but obviously I'm from Jersey, so anytime somebody came running into me down in Richmond, they probably looked at me like I had 5 heads. The way that I speak, the way that I talk, the way that I carry myself. I had a Lawrence Taylor jersey on the first day I came into school, so everybody else is in a preppy collared shirt. I'm like, am I the only guy with a jersey on over here? My boys in Long Island know what I'm talking about, because, but again, like that whole experience right from the get-go, I have to say it was pretty genuine and pretty just like right off the get-go. He actually asked me, he's like, do you want to hang out with me? Tonight you want to come to my house? And I'm like, sure, I'd love to hang out with you. I knew he was, he was batted 400 the year before. He was already an all-conference player on the map. So I was like,
no, wait, time out. Dude, stop it. If you know Boo, this guy doesn't know anybody about anybody but himself. So like he came to the University of Richmond. He's like, they're like, hey, Coach Atkins was like, Casey, we got this big recruit coming down from Hackensack, New Jersey. This guy's gonna pitch. he can hit the ball 500 feet, all that stuff. And it turns out he could. So the first day we're running sprints on the track, I introduced myself. And this guy has no idea who anybody is but himself. Obviously, thinks he's the greatest player going. And the next day I see him on campus with an LT jersey, and I'm like, man, this guy is really confident in himself because he's got an LT jersey on, he's got his Jordans, he's doing his thing. But like, it was kind of funny because our personalities just meshed right away, and I was like, man, I love this guy. So, I probably spent more time my junior year hanging out with Boo than anybody, but we just we hit it off right away.
Did you think he was down with the Sopranos?
Yes, 100%. I'm like, this guy, I mean, the jersey, my parents are both from Long Island. My mom's from Islip. My dad's from Sayville. And, my mom, my whole life's been like, hey, Jim, get me my coffee. I'm Shawnee. Sure, call me Shawnee. Shawnee, I'm your mother. So like when Boo came in, his dad, Big Lou, was from Brooklyn. So like Boo had a little bit of Hackensack, but a little bit of Brooklyn in him. It was kind of like, it was like a heavy Jersey accent. You're like, man, this guy's a little different of a cat with that Jersey accent. His LT jersey. It's just like it was all a little much for everybody.
A little full of myself too. Is that it?
100%. Way full of yourself.
I don't believe it.
No, yeah, right. Oh, God.
Well, you came in as the high school draft pick, man. You're 41st rounder out of high school. So you.
Yes, indeed. And again, I was the only full scholarship athlete there. So, and again, I go back to that time period. I was a little full of myself.
What? Are you kidding me? I came into Richmond on a $1,000 scholarship. It was like $30,000 a year to go there. My dad made $33,000 a year as a chemical salesman. I was like, how are we going to pay for this? How are we going to pay for this? And then by my junior year, I got a couple grand more. They got this guy from Hackensack coming in with a full ride. I'm like, who's on a full baseball scholarship? You got to be kidding me. It turns out it's Boo on a full ride. Like, hey, look at my arm from the outfield. I'm a great pitcher and all. He did hit the ball far though. Really, you guys didn't even get to see that. He played for Long Island as a pitcher. This guy could hit the ball further than a lot of big leaguers I played with. It was unbelievable.
What's the story with your freshman year? No at bats? What was that about?
Who?
That's you, Just. No at bats your freshman year?
Mine?
Yeah.
No, I batted my freshman year.
You did? Oh, that's bad info I had. Okay.
I hit 5 bombs. No big deal. You know what? I was pitching. They really wanted me to pitch, and I kind of was like alternate in the outfield. So I got enough at bats. I batted like 250, but it was definitely something where I was like, you know what? I need to get better. And the funny thing about that was watching Sean. Like a lot of people don't know about Sean and like the work behind the scenes, and it kind of taught me how to really start to work. Because I was a hard worker. When it came time to work, like we were doing things as a team. I'd run the sprint as hard as anybody. But when it come to like afterwards, I wanted to go to the party. I wanted to go here. I wanted to take it all in. And I remember a lot of times it would be late at night, 1 a.m, and I'd call Sean. I couldn't get in. But don't forget, back then we didn't have cell phones, guys. Okay, this was like regular phone to phone on a campus. Like you dial somebody's apartment number 1406 pound. And it's like he wouldn't answer. And then I knew right away. I would go over to this place called the Robbins Center. And the Robbins Center was like Richmond's place where we had our baseball facility. And Case was the only student that actually withers his way to a key from somebody because nobody was really allowed in there. And, I would go up 1 o'clock in the morning and I'd walk up the stairs and I'd hear the ping, 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 ball after ball after ball off the tee. And it's like, people realize, hey, how do you get to be a Hall of Famer? How do you get to be so good? And like Sean had a incredible work ethic behind the scenes and just a chip on his shoulder for people calling him fat or whatever it was when he was young and too slow. And he just carried this amazing chip on his shoulder. And it showed because when everybody else was trying to chase tail and out partying and doing what you do in college, he would take his time to do that. But then he would be like, you know what? I'm going to get some swings in. I'm going to get, I'm here for a reason. And I always admired that. And, look where it got him,
Sure. That's a great point. I think, because we always stress to our guys, you think what hard work is until, you really have to get after it if you want something, right? I mean, Sean, what kind of got you on that path? What started you, what did you come across as, you finally said to yourself, hey, I got to put my work in if I want to make it?
Yeah, Chris, that's a great question, man. You know what? My freshman year in high school, like I didn't play a lot my freshman year, but I was one of the better players all the way up. I was probably one of the better hitters all the way up. And freshman year in high school, whatever reason, I just hadn't maybe hit puberty like everybody did. I wasn't that strong yet, and I didn't play much my freshman year. I remember coming home and telling my dad, hey, Dad, can you go talk to the coach because I feel like I'm better than the guy that's playing. And it's great because you look back at your life, and I even think about it with my kids is that certain conversations or certain things that people say to you kind of they push you in a different direction. And remember my dad telling me, I'm not going to go talk to the coach. He's like, you got to get better. You're not good. You might be better than that guy in your mind, but you're not glaringly better that the coach thinks you're better. So you got to start working harder. And there was a batting cage that had just opened up in the town next to me. And my dad made me a deal. He said, I'll give you as many tokens as you'll use. So if you go and hit every day, I'll pay for your tokens. And as soon as you don't, then the deal's off. And I was like, that's a deal. And then sure enough, I started to hit. I took a couple lessons from this guy named Frank Porco on Tuesday nights. Never forget it. 5:30 to 6 o'clock was $20. I'm sure your guys' fees are way more than $20. You're probably like $100. I was $20. 10 went to Frank Porco. 10 went to the owner of the place. We would do a little bit of hitting. And and then from that day on, I would hit 6 days a week, just hours at a time afterwards, and working on what I was taught on Tuesday night. But I had a tee in my garage, so I just loved hitting. I became obsessed with hitting and trying to figure out the swing and get the reps in. And I am a big believer that repetition is the mother of skill, and that that was where it kind of started for me. Like I started to realize, man, the more work I put in and the smart work I put in, the better I got. And so it started really when I was about 15 years old.
Sean, I see you following the guys around now with MLB Network. You're going to spring training.
Yeah.
And I love how you guys do that. You get in ahead of the guy, what his approach is, what he's doing. It has to drive you nuts a little bit, like I'm sure it does us, that these guys have the answer right there. It's the same thing you did when you played, the same thing we were taught when we were playing in the same era as you. And then you see all the stuff on the outside trying to creep in. But the guys like yourself talking about walking away from your hands, using the back of the mound to swing down to the baseball or that approach. What is your thoughts on all this stuff? Because it's so simple.
Yeah. Well, I think wow, that's a great question because it's I think I had a good conversation with Anthony Rizzo one time, and I was asking him just about about all the new stuff and all the analytics and all the things, and he said, I take what I could use, like whether it's a guy's. This guy throws 70% fastballs first pitch. His out pitch. What's his out pitch with 2 strikes? He likes to come in on lefties. He likes to backdoor his cutter. Whatever it is, whatever information he could use, he uses. Because he says, just like we all know with baseball, it's tough enough at times to see it and hit it. Like it's tough enough at times to really get a good process and get in the box. So for me, like I know. When I played, I wanted to get so good at my process and not worry about so much about the results. Like, deep breath, hunt the fastball, look for a pitch out over the plate, react to the ball in. Anything that had a hump in it, with a curveball, slider, whatever. I really wanted to get visual and see that up, things like that, and then step out of the box and do it again, and then do it again and do it again, like. Pitch after pitch after pitch. And I think that's what you see your better players, your best players in the big leagues. Those guys, they don't give a pitch away. Not a game, not an at-bat. They don't give a pitch away. And at the end of 600 some at-bats, they go, man, they look up at their numbers and go, that was a great year because my approach and my process was so good day in and day out. And I do think that I think for hitters, you have to find a way to get good swing thoughts, as opposed to like breaking down your foot's supposed to do this, your back hip is supposed to do this, your hands are supposed to do this. There's too much information at times. And I think you get to that paralysis by analysis nowadays with everybody trying to break down every facet of your swing. Like sometimes I tell my sons who are 17, 18, like, get your hands back and be an athlete and take a rip. you know?
Well, listen, real quick, guys, off that. It's funny you said that, Sean, because you made me think of something while you were saying that. You know, my junior year in college, Sean is out, and he's, you know, been a batting title champ already in the minor leagues, and he's one of the top prospects with the Indians. And I come back my junior year. I went to Cape Cod the year before in the summertime, played the same team as Sean did for the Brewster Whitecaps, man. What a great time that was. But, you know, learned so much out there. We both played for the same guy, Bill Mazziello, who is a coach at TCU right now, not the head coach, but he basically, you know, he runs a lot of the program. And he taught us so much about the game and how to play the game there. But my point was, I was having a terrible season hitting-wise, and I was an all-conference outfielder, all ECAC, East Coast Athletic Conference the year before. And all I wanted to do was play the outfield and hit. Pitching was just something that, you know, was natural. I threw the ball hard, but I didn't really love it. I loved to hit. I'm batting about 200, 198 below the Mendoza line halfway through my junior year. This is coming off an all-conference, all-ECAC season my sophomore year. So I am devastated. I talk to Sean. I call him. I'm like, Case, man, give me something, man. Just give me something. And it's something that sticks with me today. He was like, listen, I want you to go out there tomorrow, and I want you to stop thinking that you got to hit a 5-run home run, because that's what you're doing right now. And it was exactly what I was trying to do. And he's like, I want you to just try to, you know, split the plate in half, man. Look for something middle in, maybe early. Be more selective. Trust your approach. And do me a favor. Start your season over. Take the at-bat tomorrow, and it's at-bat one of your season. Stop thinking you have to catch up on everything you just did. And it was a great, great thought process for me, because I went out that next day, instead of trying to hit that 5-run home run, I just said one pitch at a time, just like he was just talking about. I'm going to really, really focus on one pitch and make sure that I put a good swing on this one pitch. I hit a bomb that first at-bat, crushed it. Like a lie, it was like 480 anyway. But, I mean, it just turned my second half around. I wound up batting over 300. I made all conference again. And, again, it was as an outfield, because I could care less about pitching. I threw the ball hard from the left side, and everybody asked me if I pitch, and I always found myself on the mound at one point. So, you know, I wound up doing that professionally. But, you know, Case knows, like, I cared about hitting so much. And I thought that was the best point that I tell kids now when I talk about hitting. I'm like, how do you go one pitch at a time? What is your process for that one pitch? Because, you know, sometimes we say, oh, I got to go 2 for 4. I got to go 3 for 4 that day. And it's like, no, you forgot the most basic thing. You have to see the ball, hit the ball, and it happens pitch to pitch. So, again, I just want to add my 2 cents, because Sean helped me even back then about my approach and how, you know, pitch to pitch and at bat to at bat is so important.
Yeah, Sean, how long did it take you to get to that point mentally? Because I think that's, you know, that's the challenge, right? Because you see a lot of talented guys who have physical attributes, but, you know, mentally in between the ears, to be able to go out there, and you know that's a grind inside your head. It's like, all right, I'm just going to take it one at a time, you know. How did that come?
You know what? That's the key to the city right there. It's like, and I like the motto. I like this motto. You're not entitled to any thoughts you haven't worked on. Like even if you want happiness in your life, you want gratitude and thankfulness, you got to work on it. Like it's a everyday, you know, working to feel like that, working to be grateful, all those things. But like, I look back, man, I lucked out, you know, in a big way. You know, my dad bought me 3 books when I was a junior in high school. He bought me Ted Williams' book, Charlie Lau, I think The Art of Hitting 300, and The Mental Game of Baseball by Harvey Dorfman and Carl Keel, right? And for some reason, I just, you know, I wasn't the best student at the time, but I didn't read a ton of books. But The Mental Game of Baseball book, I don't know, man. I just fell in love with it. I really did. And I would go during my free mods, my free periods, and I would underline, you know, see the ball and you know, be easy, you know, breathe or die. All these things Harvey was talking about. And I can't even tell you. I mean, Chris, it became my Bible, right? And then I started to implement some of the things he was talking about: process, not results, focusing on the task at hand. And I took those as gospel. And for me, it was like, oh man, my junior year, ooh, this works. Senior year, this works. All of a sudden I go to Richmond, it works. And what I found was that this was it. Like, I saw a million guys throughout my career that were just better than me, more talented. Like, I was the guy in high school. Like, I go to a Kansas City Royal, Pittsburgh Fire tryout. We run a 60, and they'd be like, these guys come back tomorrow. And I was never on the list. I'm like, is Sean Casey on that list? They're like, no, you ran a 7.4. I was like, well, is this a track tryout, or are we going to hit? Or does anybody hit at these baseball tryouts? No, you know what I mean? So, like, what I knew was I had to be different somewhere else, because I wasn't going to make it anywhere with my running and this kind of stuff. So I knew that, you know what, I got to be as good as I can be mentally. I got to be able to get in my own world and get my breath right and slow the game down and hunt the fastball and then think, yes, I'm swinging. And then, no, I'm not. Let my eyes tell me no. And then step out and do it again. And step out and do it again. And step out and do it again.
Over
you know
and
what I
over.
mean?
And challenge yourself to keep doing it.
Exactly. And I was like, at the end of the day, it's me versus me. It's not me versus Randy Johnson. It's not me versus Greg Maddux. It's me versus me. And if Randy Johnson's fastball comes in at 100 miles an hour, well, I got to find a way to let the ball get to my spot and hammer it. If he's going to throw me a 93-mile-an-hour slider that's going to go away from me, I got to find a way to shoot at the left center. Get it in. I always tell my kids, I'm like, look at the plate. It's a house, right? And if you talk about the ball coming in the front door, now if somebody entered your house at night, Chris, through the front door, he's going to have a problem, right?
Yeah.
That person that's how I thought about it. I said, if you come into my house through the front door, you got a problem. That's how I thought. It was just the way I thought. Like, you come and you're going to hit the heart of the plate. Like, it's my job now to hit something hard somewhere. I don't know if I'm going to get a hit or not, but I remember Harvey telling me first couple of years I got in the big leagues, I ended up calling Harvey Dorford and saying, you've helped me so much. And we developed a great relationship. I remember him telling me all the time, your job is to hit the ball hard every time up. The results are going to be what they're going to be. You might line out, you might strike out, but if you are working your process so good, you should expect to hit the ball hard every time. And I took that to heart. And like I said, there was many guys in BP hitting balls 500 feet, could run like the wind, and in the game they stunk. Right. And then there was me like going gap to gap, doing whatever, and then in the game I was hitting a few hits. So, I just think, like I tell guys all the time, at the end of the day, mommy's not in the box, daddy's not in the box, your coach isn't in the box, your hitting coach isn't. You're in the box. You better get pretty good at being your best advocate and your best friend in that box, because it's you versus you at the end of the day. And if you can't do it, you're a dime a dozen, bro. You just get chewed up and you get spit out.
That's right. I mean, that's a great message, because a lot of times, we always try to tell these young kids, you got to at some point learn how to be your own coach. You know what I mean? Me as a pitching guy, if I'm working with a group of kids, you don't want me visiting the mound. I can't visit the mound every time you're struggling anyway. But you don't want me, coming, patting you on the butt or tapping you on the shoulder, asking you what's wrong. You got to figure it out. And that's part of the whole mindset, right? And I think it's great that you're kind of talking about taking ownership, and being able to be locked in, rep after rep after rep.
There's no finger pointing. At the end of the day, I gotta look at myself in the mirror and say, hey, and I always say this too, like, you can't bring a butter knife to a gunfight. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be able to have some tools in your toolbox, because at the end of the day, you talk about being a career 300 hitter. That means you failed 70% of the time. 7 out of 10 times you fail. In any other profession, you're fired. You don't even have a job. But in baseball, you consider that success. So I got to be able to have perspective in my mind to say, okay, here we go. I don't have that much confidence right now, but I got to come into that box with my shoulders back. I got to take that deep breath. That guy cannot know what my thoughts are. I have to get so good at being that chameleon that I got to find a way. When I enter the box, you think I'm the baddest dude out there,
Sean, you mentioned something earlier that just sticks with me and with our audience and parents, and it sounds like it was valuable to you, is your dad telling you, I'm not going to go talk to that coach. You're going to have to figure it out on your own and get better.
Huge.
Yeah.
So we don't see that a lot. We see the other side. We see the parents come talk to the coach. What can you say about that?
Well, you're enabling your kids. And when you enable people, you disable them, right? So, Daddy said I'm really good. Well, are you? Are you good? Are you like enough of that stuff? Do you show up in the cages? Like, I don't want to hear you're really good and you're better. Like, Tom Brady the other day was on Howard Stern, gave a great interview, and he said he was looking to transfer from Michigan to Oklahoma or something. I don't know exactly where, but and he went and talked to the mental coach at Michigan. He said, hey, I'm looking to transfer. He said, why are you looking to transfer? He's like, well, I'm not playing. Well, he's like, Tom, there's a reason you're not playing. you're not better than the guys that are playing. Or if you were, you would be. So why don't you go and practice? He goes, I'm only getting 3 reps in practice. He said the starter gets 30 reps. And he changed his mindset. He said, you know what? Make those 3 reps the best 3 reps in practice.
Yeah.
And then you get 5. And when you get 5, you get 10. And then all of a sudden you're the guy getting 30 reps. And now you're the starter for Michigan. And now you're the greatest quarterback of all time. So to the parents, I would say, hey, listen, send your kids the right message. Don't go fight your kids' battles. Find a way for them to put the work in. If they're putting the work in, then that's all they can do. Control what you can control. And mommy and daddy fighting your battles on things that you're not doing you're not really putting the work in. Hey, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Hey, Sean, I saw a great story in how you won the batting title your junior year of college. Maybe Justin can tell us the story. You remember it well.
Well, yeah, I was there. I lived it. So, yeah, I can tell you. Case had a hobbled hamstring, man. He was limping around. And there was a kid from Indiana batting .460. And Case was right there with him. And it was neck and neck. And, again, if he sits out that game and the kid gets a couple hits, he could have wound up winning the batting title. So Sean took the field and did what he did. And I mean, I think his last at bat, he rips a double against Clemson off the base of the fence. I mean, went wilding around. Barely could make it there. I mean, we all tried to tell him to hang at first base, but he could never do that because he played the game only one way. We used to have a saying, run in his face, back in the day. We were like, run in his face, no way, you got to hand me, So, but yeah, like that story is great because, I mean, it was basically neck and neck coming down to the last day, and it was almost like Ted Williams in the 400 bat, and it's like, hey, listen, he had every reason to not play. I mean, he had a pulled hamstring, but he was like, nah, there's no way. You know what I mean? Like, it's the last day of the season. If we don't win this game, we go home. It's it. And I'm going to get my at-bats. And sure enough, he laced a couple balls in that game and won himself a batting title.
So hearing this, Justin, all this hard work and time put in by Sean, is it safe to say you were more of a surface hustle guy until he came around?
I don't think I ever stopped being a surface hustle guy, guys. That's my problem, but that's a whole nother conversation, okay? It's another podcast, Case just had a burning desire, and I think a lot of the difference is, the funny thing is, I started working harder as I became actually a professional, just working smarter, I should say. I mean, I was always a hard worker, but just, I really had no game plan about what I was doing. It's like I was with the Kansas City Royals and we were running 300-yard shuttles. I thought, hey, I'm going to be the best 300-yard shuttle guy. Well, you're a pitcher. Why don't you try to be the best pitcher you can be, And it's like, it wasn't until I got to the Seattle Mariners that, I found a guy by the name of Rafael Chavez, who was a pitching coach out in Puerto Rico.
No way, you know Rafi?
Rafi, Chris, one of my favorite people.
That's
ever.
a good dude, man. He brought me to PR to play winter ball. He got
Same with me. Same with me. We went out there. Who would you play for out there?
Oh, wait a minute. That's why we know each other. You're in Mayagüez.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes. Mayagüez, my friend. The Indios, baby. The Indios.
Right.
Now, Chris, we can have a whole other podcast about what
That's a discussion.
playing Mayagüez. I can tell you that right now. That's a whole nother podcast. But yeah, Ralphie took me out to the field every day. We dropped arm angles. Like, I had to put the work in. And I always was the type of guy who was like, well, I got to save myself for the game, especially as a reliever, because I don't know if I'm going to get in. And Rafi was like, whatever, man, we'll worry about the game. We'll worry about the game. We have work to do. And I throw with him for about half an hour to an hour every day. It didn't have to be hard. It could have been 50, 60%, but I was dropping arm angles. I was learning how to pitch. And I thank him for that. And I wish I would have met him, early in my career, because with Kansas City, we had a couple other guys. And, I don't point any fingers anymore. Like, Rafi's a great guy, and that's why coaching is so important. That's why what you guys doing at New York, in New York is so important, because you never know what coach is going to tell you that thing that sticks with you. You never know what you're going to find out and say, wow, that works for me. That's why when I talk to young kids, I'm like, you got to keep your ears open to every single thing any coach tells you. Even if some guy says, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, maybe he doesn't, but he just might know something that clicks for you. And if that works for you, take that, you make it your own, and now you become the best version of you. And that's basically what we're all trying to do. We're trying to become the best versions of ourselves. That's why I don't want anyone to tell me, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. No, he knows something. Listen, if it doesn't work for you, move on. I'm sure Case and you guys, all of us in here know that we've heard things from people and you tried it and you're like, nah, it's just not working for me. And there's sometimes that threshold you got to push through to say, man, that actually clicked today. And there's other ones where it's like, not, you know what, that's just not me. And that's okay. You got to know that too. So that's part of, personal growth and knowing, knowing what to do and what not to do,
So on the hard work side of this thing, right?
She's back to that.
Let's talk a little something. I know Sean can jump in on this. We got to hear the story about how hard it was for you to go back and get your degree.
Uh-huh.
And let's hear the story behind that, how you got that nickname Gramps. Can you tell the audience on that?
No, I got the nickname Gramps.
Yeah, I know. I know you got the nickname.
Listen. You want me to tell it or Sean to tell it? Sean don't know.
I want you to tell it. I want you to tell it.
Well, listen, Gelsey, I mean, you know about this. We're spending 9 years in the minor leagues. Like, I left after my junior year like Sean, so I still had a year left of school, and I promised my mother that I would go back to school at some point. So, again, I'm 30 years old. I finally am done playing, and I'm saying to myself, wow, I actually have to go back to Richmond and finish my education. And, I sign up. I go down there. I'm in the dormitory. I mean, I got these young kids around me. Now, the crazy thing is, and Sean, you'll know this, there was a lady by the name of Joan Lachowski. She was like the lady that handled all the housing. So when she said she saw my name, she was like, "Oh, that can't be him." And so I walked up to her. I walked up to her room because they had me on a floor with all these young kids, and I'm like, "No, I need a different situation." So I walk into Joan. I'm like, "Joan," and she's like, "Oh my God, it's you! A little heavier, hey, a little heavier, a little more grace in the beard, whatever, So Joan's like, "Listen, we got to do something." So she puts me on a floor all by myself in one of these dormitories, which is phenomenal. But right away, I go back, and our coaches are still there. Coach Atkins, Coach McQueen, who recruited Casey and I, they're still there. So I walk up to them right away. I'm like, "Listen, I want to help you guys out, do whatever I can do." So they're like, "Oh, man, we'd love to have you, man. Come down to practice, whatever." So obviously I get to practice. The kids know about me. They know about my relationship with Sean. They're asking me all these questions. And then we're at the dining hall one day, and they're like, "You know something? We're going to start calling you Grandpa." And I'm like, I'm like, "What? Well, why would you do that?" I'm 30, because they're like, "You're old." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I mean, we're all in the same spot, though. You know what I mean? We're all trying to get an education here. You know what I mean?" They're like, "Well, listen, Gramps." So it got changed. I said, "I don't like Grandpa. I like Gramps better." So, that's it. It was Gramps from now on. Now, don't forget, Sean and I happen to be in a fraternity. So, again, even the fraternity guys found out. They did an article about me in school. So, next thing you know, I had kids coming up to my dorm room at 3 a.m, blasting on my door. And I'm telling you right now, I would crap my pants every time. They banged on it so hard, I'm in a dead sleep now. Listen, 30's not 20, okay, guys? I could have stayed up all night at 20, wrote a paper. I got about till 2 or 3 in the morning, and that's it. This guy's done, okay? So Gramps was my nickname. I couldn't leave it. I didn't mind it because it was like, hey, listen, I got a lot of grandpa knowledge, too. You guys want to pick this brain, which they did. I had a really good time, but, again.
Did you have a roommate or you had a single room?
I had a single room, but it was actually a triple-size room. So, she gave me, I almost had half a floor to myself, which was the coolest thing in the world because I did – I was in the basement in a single room when I first got there, and I'm like, there's kids running. I'm hearing trampling. Bum, bum, bum. I'm like, there's no way I can survive this. I don't have a 19-year-old mentality. I got a 30-year-old mentality. I just want to get my work done and get the hell out of here. So
Sean, did you visit him?
I did visit him. I did visit him one time. It was unbelievable. It was literally it was the real version of old school. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And the kids loved this guy. He was Will Ferrell or something.
Hey.
It was
It
was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. It was so weird to see Boo back in at Richmond because it was like a time warp. What was that, Boo? 2006?
Yeah.
2006. Oh my goodness. It was crazy. It was
2007.
crazy.
That summer
Yeah.
too. Yep.
So listen, you guys are been speaking unbelievably intelligently today, but we have to understand what Sean's obsession is with Justin being his GM on his fantasy team. Do you choose to be the Buffalo Bills, or?
The funny thing is, I know what you guys are going to say because I haven't won a championship in the CBS league that we've been doing since we've known each other. But we have won. Case and I have won our league many times. So it's like,
that's what we wanted to find out because it just doesn't make sense.
Oh my
you're
God.
dirty dog. You guys are dirty dogs. I knew this was coming.
Boo's, you guys obviously know Justin. I mean, he's obsessed with fantasy football. Like the other day, we were watching TV at my house, and well, we were social distancing, obviously. He was at the one end of the couch, I was at the other, and he was like, he started talking to me about football, like fantasy football, and I was just like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah, you got the running back here. There's the third string tight end right here on the Vikings," and I'm like, "This guy," and it's unbelievable. It's phenomenal. So you guys know how big of a deal it is. Now we've been in this 1999 when I was with the Reds. Pete Harnish, who's one of the greatest teammates of all time, put together a fantasy football league. So like we always back in the day, we're using our paper, everything like that. So I don't know much about football, but I know Boo knows everything about football. So I call him like, "Hey bro, come on in, let's do this league with me," you know. So anyway, 21 years later, we still do this league. Same dudes. Well, the one league's called Diamond Mines, and the other league's called former Reds League. It's like Greg Vaughn, Pete Harnish, Hal Morris, Austin Kearns, Adam Dunn, all these guys. And so it's like, and then Boo. But everybody knows Boo. Like, and Aaron Boone's on there, always crushing Boo about, you know, "Hey, where's the Jersey guy?" You know. So it's like so funny. But we have won it a few times. Like he really is good. I know he's not good in your league, but he really is pretty decent.
No. I'm not gonna. I haven't won that league. I've taken home some money though. Well, I've taken home some chips. I don't know if we can say that. I've taken home. I've finished in the bonus many times. I just haven't won it. That one year, Odell Beckham Jr. gets hurt. First play of the game, it's the championship. I get 0 points from him. That was it. That was my
tell you what,
I think, right?
Sean, I know exactly what you're talking about, Sean, with his knowledge. I went to watch a preseason football game with this guy when we were still playing. It was a week 3 preseason game, so nobody plays. There's no starters. This guy knows everybody on the Steelers, every guy where they went to school, who their girlfriend is. Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
The practice squad out there.
Jimmy and I are partners in that league, and when we draft, we wait for the response from him. He's a good pick, and he confirms it or doesn't.
You guys do that to me. I love it. I do that because I comment on everybody's pick. I comment on everyone's pick. You know?
Right. Sometimes we've been getting like good feedback from Justin, and that's why we've probably been losing.
Yo, Sean, I got people who are willing to pay for his flight in to attend the draft
Just to have him
because
there.
he's online.
Well, he's not my sons. He has my sons. Like my sons are about to do the fantasy draft. They're like, I'm like, "Call Uncle Boo." They're like, "Oh yeah." So he calls Uncle, and there's Boo. Boo's more than happy too. He's like, "Oh, this gives me a chance to, you know, do a mock draft." You know, so he'll do my one son's draft, and my other son calls him. I think my daughter's gonna do a league just so she can call Boo to get. You know, it's unbelievable, phenomenal.
I love it. I can't get enough. Well, you know, funny thing is, guys, going down to Richmond, going back to the baseball thing, I love the Steelers since I was young. I mean, I have pictures when I was a young kid. I mean, it's a true love affair. So Sean obviously is from Pittsburgh. So one of the things, I mean, again, besides his personality and all the guys he knew there were a ton of guys at Richmond that lived in Pittsburgh. So right away, I mean, as crazy as they thought I was in my Lawrence Taylor jerseys, I would want to talk to anybody that wanted to talk to me about the Steeler football. So I want a lot of guys over that way and saying, you know, "Hey, listen, guys, you want to talk Steeler football?" And I would start talking, and they're like, "Wow, this Jersey kid, like, he really likes the Steelers, bro. He's not BSing. Like, it's true." And
let me cut you off, bro. Let me cut you off. Let me take it from here. So the one day I'm like, my roommate Jay Adams, who's from Pittsburgh, I'm like,
oh
"Hey,
my God,
that guy Justin Lambert seems like a decent guy, kind of big Jersey accent, you know, just big burly, you know. But why don't we invite him over for the Steeler game? You know what I mean? That'd be kind of cool." So I'm like, all right. So we invite Boo over for the Steeler game. He comes over. Now we're juniors, so like we think we're high rollers. You know what I mean? Like we got a couple Pittsburgh guys there. You know, well here comes Boo like into our apartment, like, "Oh, you know, he's got his Greg Lloyd jersey on. He's just ready to roll." And I'm like, and we all kind of look at each other. And a couple of the guys that I lived with weren't baseball players, so they didn't know him at all, right? So I was like, I had to convince my roommates, hey, I called this guy who was a freshman. He's from Jersey. He said he's a big Steeler fan, so I figured we'd let him come in. So my one buddy, Doug, was kind of skeptical. I was like, all right, that's cool. So then Boo comes in, guns a-blazing, hey, let's go Steelers. I'm like, all right, you're a little loud, he comes in. And so we start watching the Steeler game. I never forget, they're playing the Cowboys. I think it was the opener.
It was the opener.
Yeah, it was the opener. And we, couple, it was a college apartment. So it was obviously, garbage cans around and all that stuff. So Neil O'Donnell throws a pick, like fourth play of the game. Boo stands up, knows nobody at the party, kicks the garbage can, freaking can goes flying, cans go flying. He's like, oh, you can't believe he threw that. But the play-by-play was unbelievable. And then he finally leaves, right? At the end of the game, he leaves. Like, it was like
I left. I think I got a pick six, and I kicked the garbage can, threw it in the air, and left. That's exactly what happened.
So the guys that I was like, this guy's kind of cool, they looked at me like, hey, great get bringing that guy over here, Case. That was a lot of fun. I was like, I had no idea. I had no idea. Guy said he was a Steeler fan. I didn't know he was a Steeler, like psychomaniac, mental problems. Like, I had no idea. You know what I mean? That was some of my buddies' first taste of Boo.
So listen, I think there's two more things I want to go over with you guys before we let you go. First off, Sean, you got to hear this story that Brian Dorsey has bringing his brother-in-law down to our locker room with the Ducks. Then I'll ask you something, Sean, but go ahead.
Okay.
Brian.
All right, so 05, we're playing together, and my fiance at the time, her little brother's a baseball fan. He's like 12 or 13 years old. He wants to come out to the ballpark. I bring him out to the ballpark. So we give him a shirt, and he's shagging BP. He's hanging out. Of course, the infectious personality, Justin over here. Next thing you know, he's showing the kids some things out in the outfield, having a good time. So we go back up into the clubhouse, and I don't see my brother-in-law. His name is James. I don't see him for a while. I don't know where he is. I decide I got to go down the hallway. I go down the hallway past the showers, and I stop because I see something out of the corner of my eye. I look left. There's Justin, and my brother-in-law is holding a pair of clippers. There's about, 30 pounds of hair on the floor. He's got my 12 or 13-year-old brother-in-law shaving his back.
Oh, my God.
Ain't nothing like a little maintenance. Ain't nothing like a little maintenance, man.
He scarred this kid for life. He still talks about it.
Justin, at what point do you get the comfort? Do you go, all right, this is what I'm going to do with this young kid?
You know what? It was kind of like I knew I had him in my back pocket. He was very influential at the time. You know what I mean? So, I'm like, you know what? The back hair is looking a little messed up. What better time than now? Here, grab this kid.
Hey, kid.
Take it up and down. See what you can get out there. Don't leave any. Hey, don't go too fast either, and don't catch the skin. You know what I mean? He was a very good kid. I got to be honest with you. He listened very well.
Oh, my God.
I knew he was traumatized right from the beginning.
Yeah, he was traumatized. He decided right then and there, no more sports. I don't want to be near a locker room.
Sorry about that, Brian. Tell your sister I'm very sorry. Tell your wife I'm very sorry.
Oh, it's funny.
Sean, I wanted to ask you, I know we talked to Catalanato. He had some opportunities to do some TV right after his career. And by the way, he said with you, he could not wait to get to first base, especially he said, like, if he was in a slump, he'd be like, oh, man. He goes, I'd be like, 1 for 10 or something. He'd be like, dude, your swing is so sick, man. He said he would walk back there. And he's like, he was in a good place after coming down.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's great.
Going bad when he was playing against you, so you can lift his spirits. But
that's great.
He explained how tough it is to get in front of that camera and the preparation. And tell us a little bit about that, working for MLB Network. And you guys do an unbelievable job. It's got to be really grueling.
Yeah. Well, I'm so thankful that I worked there. There's so many, good people that work there. I still remember my first day working at the network. It was 2009. I think it was January or February. We were doing the spring training preview, at least. And I had never done TV before in my life. And we were going to cover the Cardinals that day. So I called Jason LaRue, who I played with the Reds, and he was with the Cardinals at the time. I was like, give me all the scoop on the Cardinals. So when I go into this, my first show ever, I'm going to be prepared like you wouldn't believe. So I do, get this sheet. It's unbelievable. I'm like, they're going to think I've been doing TV for 20 years. I'm going to nail this show. It's going to be unbelievable, right? So sure enough, I get there that day, and, things just change on the fly. It was the day that A-Rod was going to have that talk with Peter Gammons that it was going to break that he had done steroids, right? So I'm like, and I had just come out of the game. So talking about steroids as a player, like that's the last topic I ever wanted to do ever, in the public. So I remember they scratched the St. Louis Cardinals show and they said, we're going to talk about A-Rod and steroids for the next 3 hours. And it was my first show ever. And I'm like, this is I don't want to do TV. I just want to go home. You know what I mean? And I remember John Entz, who was the vice president at the time of the company, was like, hey, listen, if you can get through this show, you can literally do any TV show for the rest of your career. And he was right, man. Like I grinded through that 3 hours, and every show after, debating what A-Rod said to Peter Gammons and breaking down steroids of players that playing in the era that I played with, for 3 hours. Every show after that has been a piece of cake. So I nothing like
through the fire right away.
Yeah, nothing like having the little baby going 1, 2, 3 into the pool. Now swim. You know what I mean? That's kind of how it was, and I was just like flailing. But it was, for me, man, that's been such a great job. It's my 12th year doing it. There's so many wonderful people there, and I really enjoyed. And I love, obviously, I do like to talk, and Kat was right at first base. I don't. If I played center field, my career might have been over the year because I needed that talk. I needed that social. I need the social act, to talk to people. But for me, talking baseball is something I love. I just love the job to death.
No, that's awesome. So you guys have anything else for Justin?
Yeah, your call-ups story.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Jimmy,
yeah.
how'd you miss that, Jimmy? That's
Yeah,
right up your wheelhouse. You're fired, bro.
But we used to asking guys that got that call. They weren't expecting it. I mean, this guy's surefire, So
Right.
he knew he was going to the big leagues.
It still got to be a good feeling, though. So.
Yeah, Sean, we love call-up stories. The day, how it happened, who told
Well, the
you.
reason why but first, Sean, so the reason why we love him so much, because nobody here except you made it to the big leagues. So we got to live vicariously through everybody else, so we like to figure it out. We like to get that feeling.
Yeah, but you guys got close. You got close, though, right? You were right there, right at AAA.
Yeah,
right?
close.
Just
Yeah.
knocking on the
Go. Hey, enough. Tell me a story about your call. Now you're starting to make me mad.
Yeah, he's making us feel good. Go
Now
ahead.
you're pissing me
No,
off.
So before getting on the field at Buffalo, I had to watch that video of you hitting.
That's right. In Buffalo, yeah, man. That was that's when I got called up. We were in Iowa. We were playing the American Association Championship, and it was 1997, so it wasn't a lot of there wasn't internet. No one could really watch the game. And I remember I homered in the 10th inning to put us up 3-2. We ended up winning the championship that night. And after the game, we got the champagne going, and I wasn't on the roster at the time, so I thought I was just going home because I wasn't on the 40-man roster. And I remember Mark Shapiro, who was the head of the minor leagues at the time, minor league director. Him and Brian Graham called me in, who was the manager. They're like, oh man, they're like, we were so excited. They're like, congratulations on the home run, congratulations on a great season. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. This has been such a great year. It's so fun. They're like, your season's not over. They said, you're gonna take off tomorrow morning. You're gonna meet the team in Chicago. You're getting called up to the big leagues. And I just remember I literally to this day telling the story. I mean, I feel that same way. I couldn't believe it. I just wanted to call my parents. And I remember didn't have a cell phone. I ran out of the clubhouse onto the field into the concourse to find a payphone. Called my parents. My dad answers. Dad, I just hit I hit a home run to win the American Association Championship, and I just got called to the big leagues. I'm going to meet the team at Comiskey Park tomorrow. My mom, I start crying. My dad started crying. My mom's crying. And my dad's like, we'll meet you there. So they, the next day they did. They ended up meeting me in Chicago, and I ended up getting a hit that first night. And I remember after getting that first hit, standing on first base, saying to myself, you know what? If I don't get another hit again, you know what? My dream is fulfilled. Like I made the big leagues. I'm in the history books for a one hit. And, that was good enough at the time. And, 12 years later, but that, I'll never forget that, them telling me I was going to the big leagues. pretty cool.
Nah, that's great stuff. Thank you. We really appreciate you taking the time. I mean, you're basically going to put us on the map a little bit with this podcast. So
Great. I'm glad I could. Or they'll get to know Justin.
Put all
They'll
the
get to know
pressure on
Justin,
him.
you know? Yeah.
I can always make a phone call back to Jersey. You'll have more people than Gates will get on the show. Right now. You know?
I've been telling
back on so that we can talk about winter ball stuff because I just recall now that we actually did play together then.
That's right.
I've been telling Lambert.
We bring it up, but you and I shared the locker room when you rehab with Altoona. And
Oh yeah, no way, in Altoona. I remember.
Yeah.
Hey, I bought the Outback Steakhouse for everybody.
That's right.
Baby Case. Oh, baby.
Oh,
I've been telling Justin for a while that he needs to have his own show. He has a personality that would just thrive in this environment.
Yeah, he needs to. I tell him the same thing. He needs to do that.
It'd be a fantasy football show.
He would have the greatest fantasy football show.
Yeah.
We need that.
Well, nah, I don't know about that. They want winners.
I'm coming this year. It's my year if they have a season.
That's great.
Well, good stuff. Hey, guys, thanks again. We appreciate you, taking your time out and joining us today. And, Justin, we're going to have you back on and chat up some more. But thanks to the audience, everybody listening out there. And until next time.